that kid from.
Look, Dad, look what I've got!
I was like that kid from Finding Nemo, you know, or what? I was like that. I was every fucking animal's worst nightmare, you know.
Remember when MTV done Hogan Knows Best? When Hogan was still with his first wife?
Yeah.
And the amount of animals they had?
Yeah.
Hell.
I don't get that. When I was a teen... Oh, I shouldn't say that. I'm big. I had 2 cats, a Savannah monitor, a whole bunch of fish, aquarium. I was still with my parents, though. You know. That seemed like a lot of time. Now, when I was really little, I if I found a frog, you're if you're a frog, I threw you right in a fucking cage. Turtles, frogs, you're mine. I was like that kid from.
Look, Dad, look what I've got!
I was like that kid from Finding Nemo, you know, or what? I was like that. I was every fucking animal's worst nightmare, you know.
I could just picture you in the pet store. Tommy's going fishy, just banging the fucking.
When you hear something, I was about younger than my son, so I found all these like toads around. I'd moved from the city to the country, so I was about 6. I moved from Kenilworth, which was like an Italian neighborhood, to Flemington, which was a waspy fucking white neighborhood, like not even neighborhood. Like we had a couple acres of land, you know. So I found frogs. I threw them all in like this fish tank next to my other fish tank. And they were fucking dying because I wasn't feeding them. I just thought they'd last forever or something. My parents are like trying to tell me, like, you got to get these guys fed. And I was like, I don't want to give them away. So they went and found these crickets and there was nowhere near enough of them. But the funny thing was, I feel awful about this because after that, this is 1984. 1985, 6, 7, 8. I didn't see any toads after this. I got wiped out the whole fucking flock of them.
You wiped out the species of toads?
Well, it's my parents' fault because they should have took them away from me, right? It started fucking, all right, so it started dehydrating. But I put them next to the fish tank. So you had the aquarium, 2 aquariums back to back, and they were so fucking hungry they kept on shooting their tongues on the side of the.
Oh my god!
It wasn't 5 or 6.
You monster! You're a monster!
There you go, people. There was Tommy's first nuke back.
And then I started to realize this. I got a little older, so I was like 7, 8, 9. I was like, did I wipe out them? We rarely found them after that. They were all over the place. After that, we rarely found them. We really fucked everything up. The whole ecosystem up.
You just ruined it.
Yeah, I had a frog holocaust. You know? It was too funny. Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was bad having 3 cats.
I don't think it's my fault.
For a guy.
Well, yeah, I had 2 dogs at the time. I had an Irish Setter and a Collie. Greatest dog ever, by the way, is the Collie.
Were they fed you?
No. Yeah, we fed them. We fed them the frogs. Yeah. So that's a true story. I think about, the strange thing is, because I am an animal. I act like I'm not, but I'm a huge animal lover. I thought about it like an hour ago. Like the frog, I have this vision of these frogs shooting the tongue out. I would never allow my son to do that, but they didn't have the guts to tell me or something. I don't know what the fuck it was. And then when they die, they shrivel up. They're like rocks. It was like really awful. I couldn't figure out why they were dying, even though everybody's telling me why they were dying.
Steve Irwin's got.
What did it say? What did it say? Steve. God.
Oh god.
The only other thing that I did horrible when I was an adult, but I had a Savannah monitor lizard, right? I never. Here's what happened. My ex-girlfriend was like, "I wanted to get you a gecko, or no, a chameleon, which I'd still like to have. I'm actually thinking about getting one, right? But I couldn't get one, so I got you the Savannah monitor. I'm like, the only thing with Savannah monitor is you got to feed it mice. I hated that. I fucking hate it. When they were pinkies and stuff like that, I hated it. Then I started raising mice just to feed the motherfucker, so I didn't have to go out and buy mice every other week. It was a real pain in the ass. Well, here's the thing about Savannah monitors. They get like fucking mini alligator big. And I didn't know that. I figured, he's fucking 4 inches now. When he died, and I was always told, don't worry, they only get as big as their habitat, right? Well, he got as big as his habitat. His fucking tail started curling around. And I think he was almost 2 feet long. Right?
And the
bitch broke up with me too. You know, and so we got this thing, and it was fun. So this is an awful story. My buddy John comes over. He actually wrote the first Chop on the Point song, and he says, "You're doing this wrong. I never had a snake. I never had this. He had snakes. I never did. I had collies and cats. You know, I never had this is kind of new for me, and I didn't ask for that. I want the vegetable lizard, right?" And he says, if you keep feeding them with mice, they're going to get their aggression back. And I said, well, what do I got to do? You have to stun the mice before you put them in there. What do you mean, stun them? Give me a mouse, right? And it was on my computer. You know what's coming. And John picked up the mouse by the tail. Now, this is food, keep in mind. I'm not just being cruel. But he takes it and whap! And I'm like, ah! So it breaks every bone in its body and it throws it in. So the mouse doesn't put up a fight, and the lizard continues to be friendly, right? Well, when it was my turn to do it, I was like, I can't do this. I just fucking thing in. So eventually, the lizard started getting a lot more aggressive to the point where I couldn't open the cage. Really aggressive, right? Take your finger off aggressive. And I couldn't get the water in there. The fucking thing died 3 years later. You know? I was glad it was the only time I was glad he was dead because I was afraid of him. You know, I was never afraid of it. I'm not afraid of snakes or anything, but I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I started thinking, all these people that have snakes that think it's cute and everything, if they're not doing it right, they have a dangerous animal in their house. Yeah, and I did. I had a dangerous animal. I used to hate people that did that. All I had to do was bash the brains in them. I didn't have the fucking heart to do it, but then it made the other thing crazy, and then that made it too dangerous to feed.
So if you feed it live mice, it becomes very aggressive.
Yes, it's because it hunts it. I noticed it stalked it around the thing. Mouse be sitting there going, and the lizard sneaks up on it, and takes it out, and chews them, and then you have to feed them for a week. You know.
Yeah, because my friend, he keeps reptiles, and when he was feeding his snake, I couldn't watch.
Yeah, it's awful. No, I can watch them eat
awful.
them. I can watch them eat the snakes. I don't feel, but to bash them, I don't want to do that.
No,
it feels too much.
I saw freshly dead mice at that store.
No, they got to be pinkies. I didn't care about. They're baby mice. I don't them. But
they have no experience of living, so who cares?
Yeah, no,
but they've got their whole life ahead of them.
Yeah, it'd be a pain in the ass.
Fair enough, it's in the one's stomach, but it did.
Tell you about the time I let the pinkies grow up to the point where they got cute and fuzzy, and I was like, yeah, I could feed them too. They're not going to put up too much of a fight. And then my Siamese cat fucking knocked the cage over, and they started chasing them all around the house. I come home. And I got the Maine Coon, and I walk by it, and it goes, you don't do that to me. What are you doing? And I picked up the cat. I looked in its mouth, and there's 2 little eyes in his mouth in between his eyes. There's 2 little eyes looking at me. I'm like, oh my God. So I had to pry his mouth open. And I pulled the little mouse. He was fine because he was in between his inside, but he was put it in his mouth because he wasn't like a vicious cat. His instincts were telling him to kill the mouse, but he didn't know how to do it. You know. So you really walked into a little Tom and Jerry episode, yeah.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Yeah, I was the old black woman that saved him. I hit him with the broom.
Thomas!
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't have an excuse.
More than one pet. You should not own more.
I'll tell you another story about that goddamn lizard, right? Saturday morning, I'm drunk off my fucking ass, and I swear to God, this is gonna sound. I'm drunk off my ass. I don't, but I have to get to the pet store by 12, so I have to get in my car and drive the pet store. Otherwise, I can't feed that fucking lizard. When my ex-girlfriend's like long gone. God, I wish I got a chameleon. Right? I almost wanted to set things right and just get a chameleon, see how it went, you know. And they're selling them down the street. So. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to get up. And I'm just looking at the clock tick, right? And those two fucking cats just pacing back and forth for whatever fucking reason. And then I figured out why. That is Siamese and a Maine Coon. And they're just, she's doing what Siamese, Jimmy, the big gay frog. Thanks, Tommy. You haven't do it up already. Mark my words. You'll croak before I do. So I'm sitting there. And you gotta, so I'm at my parents' house, right? So I'm in the basement, typical. I was in college at the time. And I'm laying on a mattress that's on the fucking floor. And you gotta picture this. So in the basement, you know how you have those windows? A lot you probably don't know, you're European. Basement, and it like if I'd have to lift it up and open it, and then I could stick something through there, right? I usually leave it slightly cracked so I get some air in. Down there, all of a sudden I hear right, and I'm like, what? And then the door slightly lifts, and this mole commits suicide and jumps into my room. Right? So guess what happens? Owen and Eve jump into action because that's what they were probably walking and pacing around for. And they start fucking biting it and fighting her. And I'm like, this is fucking fantastic. I grabbed the mole, I put it in the lizard cage, and went right back to sleep. There you go. Never get a fucking lizard again. I told Tommy, never get a lizard. We have little lizards. I guess they're native to the environment. Yeah, lizards are cool. It's like they're cool out here.
Never fucking buy a lizard for Tommy.
Yeah, don't buy lizards. So
do not.